Vasilisa, and the skull lantern in the far reaches of the old Slavic world, where forests grew so dense that sunlight struggled to touch the ground, there lived a young white Slavic girl named Vasilisa Petrovna. She was known throughout her village not only for her beauty, pale skin, long chestnut hair, and soft gray eyes, but for a quiet strength that seemed to glow from within. There was something about her presence, something calm and steady, like a candle that refused to flicker even in the harshest wind. But Vasilisa's life had not been easy. Her mother, a gentle woman with warm eyes and a voice like soft bells, had died when Vasilisa was only 8. On her deathbed, she gave her daughter a small wooden doll, simple, hand-carved, with painted eyes and a tiny embroidered dress. "This doll," her mother whispered, her voice fading like a final breath of spring, "will guide you when I cannot. Feed it a crumb, give it a drop of water, and it will help you in your darkest hour." Vasilisa clutched the doll to her chest as her mother's hand grew still. From that moment on, the doll never left her side. Years passed, and Vasilisa's father remarried. Her new stepmother, Karina, was a stern white Slavic woman with sharp cheekbones and eyes that never softened. She brought with her 2 daughters, Yelena and Marfa, both pale, angular, and cold-hearted. They resented Vasilisa's beauty, her kindness, and the quiet grace she carried. When Vasilisa's father traveled for work, Karina's cruelty grew bold. She forced Vasilisa to do all the chores, chopping wood, fetching water, cooking meals, cleaning the house, while her daughters lounged by the fire, whispering and laughing behind her back. Yet Vasilisa never complained. Each night she fed her doll a crumb of bread and a drop of water, and the doll helped her finish the impossible tasks. Floors swept themselves. Water buckets grew lighter. Firewood stacked neatly without splinters cutting her hands. Still, the jealousy of her stepfamily deepened. They wanted Vasilisa gone. One autumn evening, as the sky darkened early and the wind howled through the trees like distant wolves, Karina extinguished every lamp in the house. The fire in the hearth sputtered and died. Shadows swallowed the room. "There is no firewood left," Karina said coldly. "Vasilisa, go into the forest and fetch light from Baba Yaga." Vasilisa froze. Everyone knew the stories, whispered warnings told around hearths and in hushed voices. Baba Yaga, the witch of the deep woods. Baba Yaga, who lived in a house that stood on chicken legs. Baba Yaga, whose fence was made of bones. Baba Yaga, who devoured the foolish and rewarded the clever. "Please," Vasilisa whispered, "let me go in the morning." "No," Karina snapped. "Go now, or do not return at all." Yelena and Marfa smirked, their eyes glittering with cruel delight. Vasilisa clutched her doll, wrapped herself in a thin shawl, and stepped into the night. The forest swallowed her quickly. The trees loomed tall and twisted, their branches clawing at the sky. The wind hissed through the leaves like distant voices. The moonlight barely pierced the canopy, leaving the path in shifting shadows. Vasilisa's breath trembled, but she pressed on. She whispered to her doll, "Little mother's gift. Help me." The doll warmed in her hand, its wooden eyes seeming to glow. "Do not fear," it whispered in a tiny voice only Vasilisa could hear. "Walk straight. Do not stray. The forest watches, but it will not harm you if your heart stays true." Vasilisa walked deeper into the woods. Strange shapes moved between the trees, shadows that watched but did not approach. The air grew colder, the silence heavier. Hours passed. Then, in the distance, she saw a faint glow. A fence of bones. Each post topped with a skull whose eyes burned with pale, eerie fire. Vasilisa's heart pounded, but she stepped forward. The house inside the fence stood on enormous chicken legs, shifting and scratching at the earth. Its windows glowed like watchful eyes. The door creaked open as she approached. "Turn your back to the forest, your front to me," Vasilisa whispered, repeating the old charm. The house groaned, twisted, and turned to face her. Inside, the air smelled of herbs, smoke, and something older, something wild. Sitting at a long wooden table was Baba Yaga, a tall, thin white Slavic woman with tangled gray hair, sharp cheekbones, and eyes that glowed like embers. Her long nose nearly touched her chin, and her fingers were bony and claw-like. "Well, well," Baba Yaga rasped. "A little mouse has wandered into my forest." Vasilisa bowed politely. "Good evening, grandmother. My stepmother sent me to fetch fire." Baba Yaga laughed, a sound like cracking branches. "Do you think I give fire so easily? If you want something from me, you must earn it." Vasilisa nodded. "What must I do?" The witch pointed to a pile of grains and seeds scattered across the floor. "Sort these by dawn. If you fail, you will join my fence." Vasilisa's heart trembled, but she bowed again. "I will try." Baba Yaga retreated to her room, leaving Vasilisa alone in the dim hut. The task seemed impossible. Thousands of grains mixed together. Tears welled in her eyes. She whispered, "Little doll, help me." The doll sprang to life, its wooden limbs moving gracefully. "Rest, Vasilisa. I will do this." By dawn, every grain was perfectly sorted. Baba Yaga emerged, surprised. You are more capable than you look." She set another task. "Fetch water from the well and fill my cauldron. But be careful. The bucket leaks." Vasilisa took the bucket and walked to the well. Water slipped through the cracks, spilling onto the ground. She knelt beside the well, thinking. Then she remembered the loaf of bread in her pocket. She crumbled it into the bucket, and the soggy bread sealed the cracks. She filled the cauldron with ease. Baba Yaga narrowed her eyes. Clever girl. A third task followed. "Clean my yard, but do not touch the skulls." Vasilisa swept carefully, avoiding the glowing skulls. As she worked, one skull whispered, "Be brave, child. The witch tests your heart." By evening, the tasks were done. Baba Yaga sat at her table, tapping her long nails. "You have completed all I asked." "Very well. You may have your fire." She reached into a chest and pulled out a skull whose eyes burned with pale, eerie flame. "Take this," she said. "It will light your way home." Vasilisa accepted it with trembling hands. The skull's glow warmed her, not frightening but protective. She bowed. "Thank you, grandmother." Baba Yaga's eyes softened, just for a moment. "Go now, before I change my mind." The forest parted for Vasilisa. As she walked, the skull lantern lighting her path, shadows fled from its glow. The wind grew gentle. Even the trees seemed to bow as she passed. When she reached her home, she found it dark and silent. Karina, Yelena, and Marfa sat huddled inside, shivering. "Where is the fire?" Karina snapped. Vasilisa lifted the skull. Its eyes flared brightly. The stepmother shrieked, stumbling back. The skull's light revealed the darkness in her heart, the cruelty, the envy, the malice she had hidden for years. Yelena and Marfa cried out, shielding their faces. The skull's fire grew brighter still. Karina collapsed, trembling. "Take it away, take it away." Vasilisa lowered the skull, and the light dimmed. She spoke softly. "I asked only for kindness. You gave me none." Karina bowed her head, unable to speak. From that day on, the stepmother and her daughters changed. Fear had humbled them. They treated Vasilisa with respect, not love, but respect, and no longer burdened her with cruelty. But Vasilisa's life did not end there. The skull lantern remained with her, its fire gentle and warm. It lit her path through the darkest nights, guiding her with the wisdom of the forest. And in time, Vasilisa grew into a woman of great strength and quiet power, a woman whose courage had carried her through the deepest shadows and returned her to the light. If you enjoyed this journey, kindly like and subscribe to help us grow. Take care.